The first thing you notice beneath the castle is not the darkness. It is the smell. Wet stone, mold, rotting straw, human waste soaked into the floor beneath your boots, and underneath all of it, something sweeter that quietly tells you something nearby has already started dying. Then someone coughs in the darkness beside you, mild at first, then deeper and wetter, until it sounds less like sickness and more like drowning. Nobody reacts. A chained prisoner keeps staring at the floor while another whispers prayers into his sleeve with the tired rhythm of a man who no longer expects God to intervene quickly. And that is when you realize this dungeon isn't holding dangerous men at all. It is holding suspicious ones. A few hours earlier, guards standing by a fire upstairs were simply deciding whether you looked sick enough, foreign enough, or unlucky enough to disappear underground until morning. It is the year 1348, and in England those categories are beginning to blur together fast. A cough makes people nervous, traveling makes people nervous, simply surviving longer than your neighbors has started making people nervous too. Most medieval dungeons, beneath castles like Warwick, Dover, or Conwy, were never actually built to hold prisoners for long. Many started life as storage rooms or forgotten military passages, and once you lay trapped in one, the total absence of any concern for human comfort becomes obvious immediately. Water seeps through the stone walls in a slow, constant drip, and the straw beneath you feels damp enough to suggest hundreds of bodies have already spent nights in this exact same spot. Nothing down here ever fully dries, not the walls, not the floor, not the people. The cold works slowly too, which is what makes it so dangerous. There is no dramatic freezing shock, just a steady theft of body heat hour after hour until your fingers stiffen and even shifting your weight starts to feel like wasted effort. The other prisoners already understand this, which is why nobody down here wastes energy speaking unless they have to. As midnight approaches, the air grows heavier still, thick with mildew and stale breath and bodies that have gone too long without sunlight or moving air. People in 1348 genuinely believed disease traveled through corrupted air itself, a theory called miasma. And after enough hours breathing air that tastes like metallic blood and wet wool and quiet decay, that theory stops sounding like superstition and starts feeling like plain observation. You begin breathing shallowly through your sleeve without meaning to, trying uselessly to keep the dungeon itself out of your own lungs, even though everyone down here is already sealed inside the exact same shared air. Somewhere in the dark, someone begins vomiting, and the entire room freezes. Nobody moves to help, nobody even speaks, only the soft dragging of chains as prisoners instinctively shift farther away. Nobody down here fears cruelty anymore, they fear proximity. Eventually a voice speaks quietly beside you in the dark, as though the man has been studying you for hours. You ray breathing too fast, he says. You've never actually seen his face, only fragments, shallow breathing near the stone, chains dragging softly, damp straw shifting beneath him. Without ever seeing you clearly, he begins piecing together your life from details that shouldn't matter as much as they do underground: your accent, your hands, the hesitation in your breathing whenever certain towns come up. Above ground, suspicion has already become deadlier than actual evidence. Villagers distrust travelers. Lords need someone to blame whenever plague reaches their land, and merely having survived the wrong town can make the next one fear you on sight. By 1348, fear no longer needs a reason, it only needs proximity. At some point, you realize the coughing beside you has stopped, not just recently, but long enough ago that the silence should have been obvious sooner. Nobody reacts, because the prisoners have spent the whole night adapting to discomfort so gradually that even death now enters the room quietly. What unsettles you most isn't that someone may have died inches away unnoticed. It is the possibility that everyone noticed and simply accepted it. Then, for the first time all night, the dungeon door opens. Torchlight spills weakly down the staircase as a guard descends carrying a bucket of water, folded cloth, and fresh straw. For a moment it looks almost merciful. Then you understand. He isn't distributing survival. He is selling it. Prisoners still considered valuable enough by someone above ground get a slightly easier night. Everyone else is left to the dungeon to sort itself out. Coins buy cleaner water, a missing boot buys dry cloth. Nobody argues over the price because everyone understands exactly what is actually being purchased: distance, from sickness, from cold, from other people. Those with nothing to trade are quietly pushed toward the darker corners, where the coughing never fully stops. When the water bucket finally reaches your side of the room, thirst arrives with far more force than you expect. Not ordinary thirst, but the kind built from cold air, fear, and hours of breathing contaminated air until your mouth tastes permanently sour. You reach for it anyway, despite an unexplained warning from somewhere in the dark not to drink it. The water smells wrong immediately: metallic, faintly sweet, The same sweetness that has been hanging in the dungeon air all night, and a voice nearby quietly explains that the guards use this same water to rinse the dead before dragging them back upstairs. No proof follows, none is needed anymore. You let go of the ladle immediately. Sometime before dawn, exhaustion finally outweighs even fear itself. The air grows faintly less cold, and footsteps and voices return somewhere above the ceiling stones as the castle wakes for the day. Then, at last, the dungeon door opens one final time, and a narrow beam of morning light spills weakly across the floor, thin, pale, and still somehow powerful enough to make the whole room flinch. For one instant, relief moves through the dungeon, because the human mind still wants desperately to believe morning means survival. Then the light reaches the body beside you. The man who had been coughing all night is dead, slumped quietly against the wall, damp straw clinging to clothes that no longer rise with breath. He may have been lying there for hours while the dungeon simply kept breathing around him in the dark. Nobody reacts strongly. The guards don T inspect the body. Above ground, church bells begin ringing across England. Markets open, and fires are lit under cooking pots for another ordinary morning. While somewhere beneath their feet, a man has just been dragged out dead, and no one up there will ever know. Perhaps that is the cruelest truth of surviving in 1348 England. The world above ground kept moving no matter what quietly disappeared beneath it. Many of the people buried in places like this weren't criminals or monsters at all. They were simply unlucky enough to look suspicious during a time when suspicion had become more dangerous than any actual evidence ever was.